Hello and welcome to another OWNA tutorial video. My name is Chris and in this video we are going to be looking at timesheets and exporting to Xero. So I know a lot of you are wanting to utilize the export function, and we so far have a pretty good integration with Xero that we're looking on building and integrating further as time goes on, but I just wanted to go through the process of how to set that up and how you would then export your timesheets to Xero. So first of all, I'm logged into both systems here. I'm logged into my OWNA account and I'm also logged into my Xero Payroll company. I'm just using the demo company. And so one thing that I want to do before I go into the timesheets to make sure that my employees are set up correctly. So go into here, Staff HR, Manage Staff. You'll see here I've got a couple of employees that I'm going to use for the purpose of this demonstration. You'll see James, he's got an employee code there. Now if I go into his profile, you'll see I've actually got a whole heap of information about James set up. But the most important ones that I'm looking for, the employee code and the Xero earning rate ID. And it's not required, but it helps also if you've got the hourly rate in there as well. You do have to have certain permissions to be able to see and set the hourly rate here. So if you're not sure what they are, maybe contact your account administrator and see if you can get those added on. And we've also got another account for Sally, and you'll see Sally doesn't have any codes. I scroll down here, she's got the hourly rate, but she doesn't have those other two, so we need those. How do we get them? If I go to Staff Login Timesheet, I'm just going to go into the info section here. This takes me to my help center, and I'm going to go right down to the bottom and click on the Syncing Staff Guide. So this guide has a link right here to connect our staff together. So I do recommend if you're the payroll person or you're going to be setting this up, I recommend bookmarking this page so that you can get back to it easily. Otherwise, just use the method that I just did then. What we're going to do is connect to Xero. And I've already logged in and connected this before, so I don't have to select the organization again. I just click continue with organization. Now, if you have the authentication, then you'll also need to authenticate unless you click trust this device for 30 days, in which case it won't keep prompting. All right, so I'm now connected. Now what I want to do, make sure I've got the company selected and click get employees. So if you've got multiple companies linked to an owner account or multiple owner accounts, you would see more there to be able to select them. You see that's come up with all of the details here. And what we want to do is match the Xero employees to our OWNA employees. I'll scroll down to the bottom of the list and I'm just going to drag Sally from one side over to the other. You'll see that that has now picked up her details and put them in there. And we've already got James done from earlier. However, if we needed to refresh that, update his details, you can just drag them across again. And now we're all synced and ready to go. So before we get into the timesheets, I'm just going to quickly dash into the Xero side of things here. So from our company details here, you'll see settings. If you ever need to unlink OWNA from Xero at any time, you can come into connected apps. And you will see the connected app owner, which you can disconnect, and that allows you to reconnect it again if you need to. This shouldn't need to be done at all or very often unless you're troubleshooting something. Now in our payroll, we have got a few things we want to look at. So first of all, the employees. We want to make sure our employees are set up properly in Xero first before we can pay them. Now what that means is if we go to Sally Martin, for example, there's a couple of things we want to make sure. All her details, necessary details in here, but also that she has the ordinary hours set as the ordinary earnings rate. Right, so just make sure that's selected, and then assign any other things that you need to for her pay details there, and save that. This will need to be done as well before we get that earnings rate ID. So if you've done the last step before doing this, then redo this again, resync the employees into OWNA so that you get that earning rate ID. A couple of other things that you want to check is the pay template. Now, if you've got this set up as a default hours, you might need to turn these default hours to 0 so that you don't get double ups in pay, because I believe those hours will automatically add the total number of hours for them each pay period at that rate, and you can end up doubling up on that for when you pay them. The other thing to make sure is that they are set to the correct payroll calendar. So hopefully you've only got one. This account's got 2, a weekly and a fortnightly one. So we just want to make sure that all the stuff that we're exporting are on the same calendar when we're doing that. We've got the fortnightly calendar, and if you want to check, I believe you can go into settings, payroll settings, and calendars. So this will tell you what your calendars are and when the next pay period is. So this is really important to know what the dates of your pay period are, because we need to match them perfectly in OWNA. Okay, so I can see the next period is the 15th to the 8th, which means the previous period was the 1st till the 14th. So now I'm going to go across to my staff log. Now, with that information that I've now got, I know that my pay period that I want to export is the 1st until the 14th. So if I select that here, click apply, and for the purpose of this, I'm just going to, well, we could get the timesheets for everybody, but I'm going to get James's, and I'm also going to get Sally's. So this is how you can, this is a really useful method for filtering out stuff that you're not wanting to export and just focusing on the ones that you are. So we've got James and Sally. Now you can see I've gone through and already fixed up a lot of these times earlier. You can see that by the fact that I've marked them as checked. So they're all checked here. All of these shifts have a corresponding roster time, which really helps speed up my timesheets and my approvals. So really good idea to make sure you get your rosters as close as possible so that you can quickly adjust and fix up your timesheets. And if need be as well, using the rosters and the rostered hours to export is another really good option as well if you're not wanting to go through and fix up all the times every week. So you can actually pay them based on their rostered hours as opposed to their clocked hours. Well, I'm going to proceed with this assuming that we're going to use the timesheet actual clocked hours. And what I'm going to do is for the last couple of days I need to go through these still. Now there's a couple of ways I can do this. First way is to use this little icon here, revert to rostered time. Okay, so that just goes through and it just snaps their time back. Nice and easy, and it's all set. Okay, now the other thing that I can do is click this adjust button on the right, and I can actually manually put in the time that I want. So maybe I wanted to give them 30 minutes extra, for maybe they did stayed back, worked a bit more. I can manually adjust that, and you'll see it's picked up that extra half an hour on the shift. Now the other thing as well with breaks, you'll see here that they've got rostered lunch breaks. Now these lunch breaks get deducted. These are their unpaid breaks that will get deducted from their total shift length. So for James, for example, on the Monday, he's been rostered for 8 hours, and he's been paid for 6 hours. Just going to fix that up. Okay, now he's paid for 8 hours, and he's got his 60-minute break. I know that. I just remembered why I put that like that. Let's say he clocked out a little bit early. Okay, So he's rostered for 8 hours, he's worked 5 hours. What we want to do, maybe he didn't get a chance to take his break. Okay, so we can then override that and pay for that break. So we won't get that 60 minutes deducted. And then what we can do is go ahead and put some leave in for him. So this is one way you can do it. Pressing on the plus just goes through and puts a leave request in for James. Leave type personal leave, and it was 3 hours. We want to give him. We put that in there. Okay, the other way to do it is that you can put it in the roster. So if you know ahead of time, for example, that someone's going to go home sick, you can come in here, I'll just do it for this week, and you can edit their shift and move to leave. So both of those are great methods for adding leave to the timesheets. Okay, so I'm just going to go back in here, fix up my times. James and Sally. And now we've got that personal leave in there. So that's great. Now he'll get his 8 hours of pay. Or if he did take his lunch break and leave that unticked, that'll get taken off and he'll get 7 hours. Okay, so we've checked this one's fine. We've checked this one, we've updated, that one's fine. Now if someone checks in late, obviously you'll see here, this person checked in late, and we can just fix up their time still. And then they left a bit early, so let's fix that up. And they're back to 6 hours. Now you notice as well, Sally on these days doesn't have a rostered lunch break. So this is a bit of an example. She hasn't got a rostered lunch break, but she has taken a break. So if we want to deduct that, again, we should go to the roster for the 10th. Jump into the roster, jump into that week. Find Sally's shifts. Was the 10th? And then we can edit that shift and put a 1 hour lunch break in there. So now when we get this, refreshed it, now she has her 1 hour unpaid break in there. So a couple of other things that you might see as you're going along. We've got a sign in, but we have no sign out. So maybe they just forgot to sign out. What we need to do is click on the plus again, just like we would if we were correcting, and we can then put the time in there manually, or it just automatically picks up their rostered end time. Alright, so then we've got another one here. Just going to fix this up. Okay, and something's gone wrong there. Here we go. So we've corrected it, and it looks fine, except it's still saying that they have 6 hours and 10 minutes, which is strange, right? So what I want to do is take a closer look at their actual clock in and out times. So if I jump back up to the top and look at the staff log, I need the date. That's very important. So the date is Wednesday the 9th, and I can put that in up here. So Wednesday the 9th to Wednesday the 9th for Sally, get report. Okay, so what I can see is, even though I've got her check-in time that I've amended to be 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock, I've got some miscellaneous other times in here. So it's like she's actually checked in and then checked out and then checked in again. So we can see we've amended both of those check-in times now to be 9 o'clock. We've also got the center check-out time there that starts off. So all we need to do is just delete those additional miscellaneous clock times. Okay. That one there is just a room sign-in that she did right after she clocked in, so that's fine to keep that. And lets us know that she was in there early anyway and started in the room before her actual pay shift time. So that's fine to keep that one there, but we just want to make sure we clean up the check-in and out times. So now if I go get staff timesheets again, scroll all the way down, I've got my exact 6 hours. Perfect, just the way I want it. Okay. Then also, if the staff hasn't checked in and out at all, they will get a did not check in notice there. So again, we can click on the pluses to fix that up if we know that they were here and they just forgot to clock. Or we can add a leave request in just in case. So that pretty much goes over all of the bits and pieces here. So we've got a couple of leave things here that we need to worry about. Oh, and then James didn't clock out on his last day. So we update that. We tick all the boxes. This is just a visual record. You don't actually have to click all the boxes. I just find that it's useful to know that yes, I have actually gone through these and I've checked them all off. Okay, so what you would do, now I've already connected to Xero, but if you hadn't have already done that, which let's just assume we haven't for a minute. If you haven't already connected to Xero previously in order to sync those employees, you might just be in this position where you're just going through and doing the timesheets. And now we want to connect to Xero. So we press connect to Xero. And again, we're just going to continue with that one organization. Okay, now this is very important. Even though my dates there still say the 1st to the 14th, because I've gone away from the page, it's actually reset the information on the page. So if I were to export this now, it would actually put the wrong hours into the James specifically. We would only export 6 hours. So what I want to do is just check my selection, James, Sally, get timesheets. Those dates are still correct. And just make sure I refresh the information that's on the screen. So I always want to make sure that the correct information, the correct hours down here are showing. So this is what I'm going to export. 60 hours and a half for James and 55 hours for Sally. So the other thing is at the moment we automatically round those times off for you as well. You don't need to worry about those miscellaneous couple of extra minutes. Okay, so once we're happy with that information, we can go sync to Xero. And the timesheets has been successfully synced. Okay, so now if I go into payroll settings, close these other tabs out. Payroll, timesheets. We will see now that we've actually got these two draft timesheets. The one for Sally, one for James. You'll see that each of those days have been put in, one for each week. Now, this one's actually giving me 5.25 hours. What I'm going to do is delete. Let's delete Sally. And let's run the timesheets again. Let's just do Sally this time. And let's fix up her hours. Even though I told you that it rounds, I think we've changed that. So if let's go click this, click this, 55 hours, sync timesheets, refresh. And we've got 49 hours. So that is because we've got 6 hours of leave. Okay, so I did mention the leave earlier, I think. What we need to do is, we don't actually have this integration built yet. As I said, this is still something we're working on. So what you need to do, just to fix up Sally's hours, is go into Payroll, Leave, and what we want to do is add those leave hours in for Sally. So we go New, Search Employee, Sally. I think it was annual leave. Yep, annual leave. And that was on the 11th. For 6 hours. Description is required. There we go. Alright, so that is the entire process of exporting your timesheets into Xero. Now, there are a couple of things that can happen. Obviously, if we try to do that again, it will throw up an error. And that one is validation exception. This timesheet already exists. Okay, so that's because we've tried to put a timesheet in before getting rid of this timesheet. So if we want to resync it again, we've got to make sure we go into there and delete it. Some other issues that can arise is we can have the wrong dates. So maybe we went from the 28th until the 14th, right? And then let's delete Sally's timesheet. But we'll get it again with the wrong dates and try to sync it. Validation error occurred. Provided period doesn't correspond with the pay period. Okay, so that just means that we've got the dates wrong. Now, we do actually have a bunch of these in our guides. So again, if we go up to the tutorial guides here, let's get our staff logs. We go back to staff and educators. You'll actually see we've got error codes from Xero and how to fix them. I highly recommend using this guide if you get any errors. And hopefully this video will help you streamline your pay runs and improve your experience using OWNA and our timesheets to do the pays. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, as always, please feel free to get in touch with us, support@owna.com.au.